Hello, this is my video reflection for the standards 1, 2, and 3 video.
Okay, so first you want to talk about what your learning goals were and what the children were expected to master during this lesson.
So, the learning goals were to learn about practice reading skills and learn about parts of a book, and I'd be able to identify the main character. And the book it was based on the hungry caterpillar, and it also looked at some life science of what happens to the caterpillar, and a vocab. They had to learn the vocab from the book, like different types of food. Yeah.
Nice. So let's first talk about standard 1.
Okay.
So I know we talked about something that could help the children learn the vocabulary that you were intended for them to practice would be to maybe try and be a little bit more intentional with like targeted vocabulary. So maybe repeating words like character, cover, clapping out the words, singing the words, having the kids repeat back the words to you so that they have practice using the word and saying the word. So maybe then it will become part of their vocabulary.
Yeah. Because I did notice that I had the discussion questions with me, and I veered away from that somehow. Yeah.
That's okay. It's in the moment that happens.
Yeah. Pause that.
When you were watching.
So when I was watching it, I realized that they were spending too much time on the mat.
Okay. So I know, we talked about that in the first video too. So that is still something that you can work on. And for your third video, that can be your goal. How can you teach the lesson in a meaningful way where the kids are, more active and maybe moving around more?
Yeah. Because I looked at it afterwards and I realized there's a lot of areas in which I could have cut my time in terms of like pegging pictures on. That was just time waster. I could have had that prepared. They don't have to. That is not an important part of like their learning to see me peg something.
Right.
Yeah, and also, I think that I could have broken. I should not have broken the story up with so many questions.
Yeah, and something that is fun sometimes to get the kids moving while reading the story. For example, when you're like, oh, the little egg lay on the leaf, you can have your kids like roll up like a little egg, and retell the story while they're moving their body. So maybe they can get moving and have a little more interaction.
Yeah, that's such a good idea. Okay. So we move on to standard 2.
Yes. So now we're going to talk about understanding individual differences and diverse cultures. So something that is very cool about working in the international school is that we do have children who have a different culture, especially when it comes to their language.
Mm-hmm.
And you're very lucky to have a Thai co-teacher that works alongside with you. So something that I do in my own classroom is when we're learning a big word, for example, like character, it might be really helpful for your co-teacher to share that word in their home language. So maybe they can make a deeper connection.
So true. And I could extend that in when I'm sending the vocab words home in the newsletter, put it in Thai.
Yes, because some of our parents don't have fluent English ability yet, so that would be really helpful for them then to be able to talk about what they learned at school with their kids.
Yes. The worksheets that I did to differentiate the different levels, I used the name matching because we've been doing that for like the last 3-4 weeks.
Okay, but you had their letters on the letters of their name on the sticker, and then they had to peel it and then put it on.
Yeah. So I got like what I've taken out from that data is that the kids are like my higher level group was very able to match their names, match the letters. However, they are still struggling with that direction. So it might be the same letter, but they just stick it in any direction. And my lower level groups are still just sticking all the letters, but not really focusing on the like they'll stick the first and they'll focus. Everything else will just be jumbled up.
Right.
So it's something I have to keep going at, right?
Yeah, and maybe some kids, that is quite a high thinking skill to be able to look at a shape, and in this case, a letter, and be able to match, the thing about it when sometimes you see your kids playing with those puzzles, right? It is essentially a puzzle.
Yeah.
That right when they're putting the piece in, some of them just might not yet have that cognitive ability to be able to match, lines in that way. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I could maybe simplify that for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maybe focusing on just the first letter for some of them. Mm-hmm. Getting them to recognize, oh, my name is Kendall. My name starts with letter K, and focus on one letter at a time.
Yes.
They might be overwhelmed with seeing all of the lines.
Yeah, and like some of them have 8 letters in their name.
Exactly.
And this girl Falan, she has a PH.
Yeah.
I'm like, how am I gonna teach that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, so standard 3, teacher works to create a positive learning environment.
So equitably engaged by organizing. Okay. So let's read. Teacher collaborates with learners, families, and colleagues.
The senses that I had were a sensory, like a Play-Doh table. Then the main activity was making the main character and recreating the book cover. And then the next one was matching the vocab from the story. And then they had to repeat it back to Miss Moo. And so everybody had a place to go, and all the adult teachers in the room were being utilized.
Yeah. I think again, all the students, they were organized, and they knew they had their little necklaces with their colors, and they know where to go. But like we were talking about standard 1 before about the vocabulary, for standard 3, it could be helpful to prep your co-teacher on the vocabulary, the intentional vocabulary ahead of time.
Yes.
So maybe sit down, and when you're talking about your activities that week, that can be something you can add in. Something that I think is helpful when I'm writing or thinking of a lesson, I'll always pick like 1 or 2 vocabulary words, and like I'll write them down just so I really remember that that's the words that I want, the vocabulary that I want them to focus on.
Love that. Because I made that board, right, which was the live pictures, so that because they all need to see what it is, and we had it down, they could look at it and whatever, and I think that helped. But to be honest, I think they already knew a lot of the vocabulary from the story. It was more the character, book cover, those type of vocab, which I should have been more intentional on.
And sometimes it can be challenging when reading a book like that to have a strong focus, because it's talking about the days of the week, food, life cycles. So it's okay to use a book slowly, and each day can really focus on 1 or 2 aspects without trying to encompass everything in the book in a short time.
Oh, yes. Okay.
Yes. And I think, again, we saw that your students are happy and they're having fun. So I think you do a good job creating a safe and positive learning environment for everyone.
Yeah, and I've really been intentional about teaching them to help each other.
Oh, good.
So when someone's an early finisher, instead of going to play, I ask them to ask the group if anyone needs help.
That's so sweet.
And they always take someone's help.
Of course.
Yeah, and so that I really like that, because makes them, peer-to-peer learning and things like that.
Absolutely. So for the next lesson, something and to focus on again is the carpet time. So
Yeah.
how can we cut that down so it's a little bit more developmentally appropriate, and then you can try and have some targeted vocabulary and use different methods and yeah.
I like the clapping because we're learning clapping the syllables of
Yeah.
their names.
Some
So-
character.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
singing a song, and then sometimes you can even go like, "Who is that?" Like whisper, silly voice, and just do it again and again.
Yeah, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Perfect.
Alright, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.